God knew that there would be many opposed to peace, just like today many are opposed to peace. But we come down to this last beatitude again. It still has to deal with the attitude of man. Matthew 5:10 through 12. Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. The final attitude check of a faithful servant. What will your attitude be when persecution comes? What will your attitude be when people insult you? You ever been made fun of for being a Christian? Have you ever been insulted or have evil things said about you just because you were a Christian? I know I have. You know, in 1987, when I graduated, school was tough. I can't imagine what it's like now. I can't begin to imagine what it's like to be a Christian today if you were a baker and owned a bakery. But I do know what Jesus said about. He said, you are blessed when you are persecuted for being righteous. Yours is the kingdom of heaven. And Jesus said, blessed are we when people insult us, when they persecute us, and when they give all kinds of false testimony about us. And why? Because great is your reward. Heaven is our reward, the same reward that was received by the poor in spirit. We have a reward in heaven that awaits us, not just any old reward, but a great reward. When we look at persecution and we see a great paradox between the forgiveness of sins and those who are still in their sin. This has to do with the enmity between Eve's seed and the devil's seed. It's in the same when we view the reason that Cain killed Abel. Abel's actions were what? Righteous. And Cain's were evil. Evil hates what is good, and good hates what is evil. And when we recognize the condition of man as being helpless and in a state of desperation, we see a God who is willing to forgive. But we have a world that hates all of us, all of those, because they have not been forgiven. But they hate those of us who have been forgiven. Why? Well, it's not because the world does not have access to this forgiveness, because they do. It's because the evil one has so brainwashed the world that they hate anything that has to do with good. They've been deceived by Satan, and persecution is the result. Sometimes we don't understand persecution. We don't understand why we must go through these trials. But God does. He understands. And as we go through these trials, our attitude must be like that of Jesus. 1 Peter 2:22 says, he committed no sin, and no deceit was found in his mouth.